Hey there, I'm out and about doing a photo walk. Just really, the weather is so beautiful today, and I want to go and see what pictures I can get. I'm staying very local, not so. I was thinking about going something a little bit more cityscape, because I like that, but I'm going to stay local here and see what I can get. I really think that, when it comes to street photography, if you keep your eyes open, there's always some interesting things to see. Actually, right now, as I'm speaking out, there's a guy. Do you see behind me this worker guy? Can you see him? I'm going to see if I can get some pictures of him. So he wasn't actually the most. He was a little bit nervous when he saw me, so he kept looking at me in my direction. So I didn't really get so many amazing pictures of him. This first one I got here is nicely composed. I like how I was in the middle of all the different trees. However, that one tree is cutting between him and the pole he's holding. It's just cutting right in the middle, and so I'm not even going to bother with that one. The other one we got here later on, after I did looking at some other things, came back and I happened to see him again. I got this picture, which is a little better, but still, I'm not so happy with the composition. You can zoom in just a little bit maybe and see if there's anything to work with here. But I don't. I'm not so optimistic. It's not so exciting. Over here, right behind me, is also this very interesting. Uh, well, this area of weeds and whatnot. And so I have with me my 7300 zoom lens, and so when I use that, I get some really amazing bokeh, and I can bring out the subject better. So what I'm gonna do here is see what types of things are growing over here. It looks like we have some Queens and lace, which could look pretty cool with the background. Wow, it's just really gorgeous looking through this lens and seeing how this comes out with putting a rule of thirds. And the other one, I'm going to turn my camera to portrait mode, and I'm balancing off the main head of the Queen's Anne lace with this other shorter stem, and this contrast between the two and how they both show up in the frame. I think it's very interesting. This picture here is, I like the separation between the two stalks. However, what in the background is sort of ruining it for me, this whole area here. So, while I think it's a decent picture, I don't think it's not one I'd really keep. As I said before, my real goal, I prefer a little bit more doing urban photography, and so my goal is actually to walk to a little bit more commercial section that's in this part of town, so a few stores, to see what types of pictures we get, incorporating geometry and patterns and things like that. They're not going to get so much of that in nature. So let's go see. So on my way, I saw this synagogue actually that has a very interesting contrast going on because of the openness of just the open lot that's over here. And then we have towards one side of the building the remains of a construction that they've taken down. I just found it very interesting, this contrast between what was built and not built and just the open and emptiness of it all. So I want to try to capture that a little bit in with a photograph. I passed this ambulance behind this gate on the way. I thought it'd be a very interesting composition. It's actually not hard to get into here. It's actually open over here. But what I liked about this was the uh, just how they have these bars that are obstructing, and maybe the message behind that. I don't know. It's like also is interesting these patterns. We have the vertical patterns of the bars and also the shapes of the building behind it. There's a large shape. I'm purposely taking my photo. I like to want to crop in, maybe show like compression or constriction of some sort. Here, when you can see the front and back, like in this like video that I'm showing right now, it's very static. But when you come in a little closer, I think it's giving this feeling of you feel like something's missing and you want to see more of it. So it adds a bit of tension and energy of a sort to this photo, which I think combined with the vertical stripes of the bars just plays out very nicely. So now I'm getting to we'll say the main uh, commercial center over here, which isn't so exciting, or not so much going over here, I don't think, but we'll see. I see there's a building that's not yet finished in construction. I always like taking pictures of that. We'll see if I can get anywhere near there. And in this shopping center over here, we'll see what is going on as well. Okay, I can already tell this is looking exciting because there's some reflections here. So I might try a little bit of reflective photography and see what happens using this with the background. It's all really nice here. It's so cool looking at the images and the reflections. So putting us all together and see what I can get here. Hey. So when I'm looking for these reflective pictures, there's a lot of trial and error that goes in as I'm moving the camera slowly around to see about the composition, because you want to have an interesting interaction between the subject and the background, or the reflection and the subject you're shooting through. So there's a lot of trial and error and playing around that I'm doing, that I move the camera and adjust and see how are these shapes, how are these images looking, and lights and darks. So there's a lot of things to see what makes an interesting composition in my mind and seeing what I can find. Also very important to me is the meaning behind the compositing of the two images, how the subject, what it's bringing to the picture, as well as the reflective background, and how the two interact and what type of message or story comes about when I put the two together. So that's also something I'm looking for in addition to the overall composition. So we have this picture here, and we have a similar picture here. And between the two of them, I have to say that I'm much more a fan of this one. I like how the frame is split into two parts, and here it's only one. Additionally, the way that the coat hangers are, or the clothes hangers are all in a line, not at the top of the frame here, versus at the top of the frame over here. Again, in this first picture, it sort of breaks the picture into different areas. So we have the area above the clothes hanging line, and then below, and then we have these vertical lines intersecting one with the other. So there's a little bit of these geometric shapes that are being created here. Also, the way I guess that this leads your eye right to the car, right? And the little bench over here, so there's a little leading to the action over here. And in this one, there's a car, but it's sort of like crapped in the, showing up in the middle of all the clothes, which doesn't make any sense to me. So between these two pictures, I would definitely go with this picture. I'm just enjoying really looking around and seeing what interesting sights and scenes I can see here. And this just caught my eye, something interesting, that we have the sign for a store called Napa, and also the awning sign as well, and how they both show up together. I thought it'd be interesting just to see how you could put the two pictures, the two items in the same picture. I can play around the composition, some geometry here, and it's just interesting from this angle, going up on a staircase here, so I'm up high, obviously, because I'm not on the same height as a signage. But anyway, so I just thought it was pretty cool. And so honestly, I'm just trying to reiterate here this idea that there's so much cool things to see. Look at this, the way these reflections are going here. I mean, I'm in an empty, there's not much going on here people-wise, but there's so much interesting things to see. I'm just really loving it. Here we have another two pictures, and I want to compare the two. In both of them, I actually very much like the contrast between the purple and the yellowy color. Those are complementary colors, so they make each one stand out very nicely. Also, there's a nice contrast happening between the thin vertical lines and these larger purple shapes, these rectangles on the edges, which is also a nice contrast. And the purple is really framing what's happening in the middle, which is very nice in both pictures. Oh, and also I do like the bright colors. There's draws the attention to our subjects in the middle, which is very helpful. However, that said, there is a difference between these two pictures, one which makes me prefer the first one much more than the second one. Because in the first one, we see our runners are coming into the frame, and so there's all this space in front of them, which gives them breathing room, and it just makes the picture more open and airy. Versus in the second picture, where they're already sort of leaving, so now they're running right against this purple barrier, and it's creating a lot of tension and imbalance. On top of that, you'll notice in this picture, the two runners are on top of, behind them, there's this person walking, and so they've all put together. Versus in the previous picture, there is this space and breathing room between them. So that's also very helpful. And one more reason why I prefer this picture. In the first few pictures I was taking here with these tiles and the reflection of this the street behind, I started off with a horizontal orientation because I usually do landscape more. I find myself doing, but this lamp post over here, if you can see, I'm showing right now in the reflection of the window to see what's in front of me. That was bothering me because in the composition here, I felt that the lamppost was giving a little bit too much definition or prominence to the street side of the picture. Like I want, when I'm taking these pictures where I'm combining the foreground and the background through these composites, I like the person to struggle a little bit, like to engage the mind to say what's going on here and what's foreground, what's background, and what's happening. And sometimes if an element is dominating and overpowering a little too much, I think it detracts. So I want to find a way to tone down that element of the background, the street scene. So in that case, I went to a portrait orientation so I could lose the street lamp and just focus on the ceramics and the street. I'm telling you, I am not moving as fast as I expected. There's just so many interesting things to see around here. So as I was walking down that staircase from that Napa store to the main level, so I went back and I saw again these mannequins, which maybe have appeared in the previous some photos I had before. But right now I saw how we could shoot this through a layer. The staircase actually has a glass banister. Well, it has the metal railings, but then there's a glass protective banister. So I was like, wow, let's see what could happen if I shoot through the glass on the reflection of the storefront. And so I have like an extra level of reflection going on here. And initially my pictures, I thought I was losing some of the mannequins a little bit too much because we have a lot of layers between us and the mannequin right now. So what I did is I reframed and recomposed so that I have one of the mannequins at least framed in the banister railing. In that case, we only have one layer of glass separating between it and us. And it also draws a little bit more attention to it. It's also interesting how we do the framing and maybe highlighting that mannequin opposed to the other ones and creating more of a story and a situation going on. I didn't really know this, but it turns out that the Napa store is a shoe store. So here we are. I'm getting some pictures of the shoes and also using the storefront with the reflection and the boxes to create some geometry and patterns. So just seeing some composition here and seeing what it's looking like. I wasn't expecting to see this, but I'm happy to explore it and check it out. I think this this truck behind me is quite interesting with the decorations on it. And I happen to like how it was juxtaposed behind or in front of this other building. Trying to put a combination of the two together of showing building on a car and a building in real life. And I don't know if it's the best building to have behind it exactly, but it is a building. So I'm working with what I have. So there we are. I'm looking for a way to get into that area that's under construction, but I have a feeling that I'm not going to really find that because, you know, it's probably dangerous. So I'll have to content myself with seeing if I can find a view from around that looks interesting. So this might be the best shot I have of getting something about inside of this construction. I'm actually standing on a wall. Can you see this? Standing on a wall in this corridor or outside passageway, and that gives me a view over this wall, and so I can see a little bit of what's going on back here. I'd like to explore inside, obviously, but as I said, you get what you take what you can get, and so far this is what I found. So I'm exploring this angle and just seeing what's going on here. I found my way into a parking garage on my way to try to see if I can get to another area. It doesn't seem like there's a connection, but on the way I happened to pass by this and I saw this scene with this bicycle against the open window, which creates a very nice silhouette when shot from behind. And I like all the different shapes. We have the circles and the lines and this contrast. It's pretty cool. So there wasn't really a way to get out of the car park, so I'm retracing my steps. But I went a different way out, and on the way I did find this very cool scene of these flowers over here, and knowing that I could use my zoom lens, my 7300, with this amazing backlighting and everything to get some really cool shots, and I think they came out really nice. So contrary to what I said before, that your pictures we found everywhere. It's not exactly true. I mean, it depends on the photographer, I suppose. But for my eye, I'm very much attracted to patterns uh, and geometry, repetition, things like that. There's some areas that I found that are just messy, and there isn't a real subject that stands out. It's more of a chaotic type of scene, and it doesn't really speak to me. So in those cases, it's harder for me to find a picture. I'm sure if I had to, I would look around, but there's so many other things here that are more readily available, so I'm just gonna keep walking. Over here, I found a very interesting picture that I like with the lines of the bus stop and how you can see through them to see this car in the background. And so it's sort of like a peekaboo of a sort. It's a cool combination. I also like that I included the trash can on the side, and just the whole feel, it's the vibe I'm getting from this picture. I also happen to like calligraphy and the art of writing, and so I saw this sign, you can see behind me, where it says head over heels, and I like the shapes of it, and I want to take a photo of it where I could maybe abstract the text into these shapes and patterns and see what I can get from that. So I think I was pretty successful. Walking back, I ran into this bus stop from a different angle, and I'm liking how it's looking from here, where you have the quasi reflective barrier, and then we have those horizontal lines again behind it, and we have the reflection with some cars and things like that, and I'm liking how it's working out. And as a big bonus, I found some bikers who are coming by. I didn't catch them oncoming, but from behind, amazing shot. I think it's a very fitting way to end this photo walk from today. So I want to thank you so much for joining me here. I hope that you enjoyed and learned something about how you can just be in a blasé area, nothing so that's out of the ordinary. But if you keep your eyes open and you just look in the right way, you can see some really amazing things. So thanks again for joining me. I look forward to seeing you in another video.